What's up, YouTube fans? Today we're going to take a look at the RX-78 Gundam Perfect Grade Unleashed. So this is a new release by Bandai. It's their 40th anniversary, and they released this special version of the RX-78-2, which is my personal favorite Gundam, and it's got a lot of really cool features. Let's just take a look at this box here. So we are going to be doing this build, so I'm going to be showing you as we go through the different phases, how it looks, how it comes together. And we're going to try to show you all the different features and accessories and different inner workings, all that kind of stuff. I'll show you where the any die cast, if there is any, there's a little bit in there. So we'll go through all that, and also I'm not going to film the build. It's just going to be too long on this time. So what you'll see is progressive steps as I go through, but I'm not going to show the entire build. Usually I do like a time-lapse kind of video. It's just too much for this. So let's get started. Let me first show you what's inside the box. So here is an image of what you get inside, all of the runners. There's a lot of runners. I had it laid out on my bed here. You can see it's laid out by runners A through X. And then there's some stickers and some extra parts that aren't on runners at all. They're separate. All the metal parts are on the right side there. They're in that bag. And they're basically, anything that's made of die cast is teeny tiny bag there. So there's not a lot. So we'll get through each of these phases. So back to this here. We're going to start off with phase 1 and phase 2 and show you from there. So here we go. Let's start off with the legs. So these are identical other than, the direction of this over here, but here's what it looks like. These parts are made to look like metal, but they're actually just chrome plastic. It's a really well done chrome. It's very well painted, but they're not metal. There aren't really any metal parts on here, even though there's some parts that look like it. You do have these pistons here that do move when you bend the knee, so it exposes that. I believe this is going to get covered up when we get to the armor pieces. It is going to cover up that piston, but for now you can still see it. You do have all this nice little detail, the metallic look. It's not actual metal, but metallic look. Really well done. I just showed you the bend in the knee, so you have this upper knee joint and then you have this lower knee joint, and it does get you that full range of motion, and it looks really cool. It is nice. Everything's nice and tight on this. It does come partially pre-assembled. Just the inner structure is partially pre-assembled. The rest you put together. There's that movement for the shield, ankle shield. Here's the ankle pivot. You have pivot this way as well. So it goes all the way down to there, up to there. And then you get this heel tilt here. These panels you'll see a bit later, but that's for the armor, for exposing or showing the armor. So you can see that foot kind of automorphs a little bit. And then you got the toe tilt here. So some really cool movement on that foot. You also get the pivot this way and then outward motion. So that's really it for the legs. Let's move on to the next component. All right, now we built the waist piece here. So it does come with all of these hip skirts. The two in the back and the two in the front are identical. So obviously no panels yet. This is what it looks like underneath. You got the two slots for the legs. So let's assemble this. There is another piece here for that look, that metallic look. It's not actual metal, but it does look very nice. So go ahead, let's stick the legs in there. It's just held in by friction, but it is nice and tight. All the tolerances are really well done on this figure. All these hip skirts, they do fold all the way up, all the way down. They do have a ball joint, so you can move it in and out, and up and down as well. So they all have that movement. Pretty nicely articulated just for hip skirts. They all have a ton of articulation. So that's it for the waist. Let's move on to the torso. So here is the next piece. This is the inner torso, or the core fighter. It doesn't actually turn into a fighter. They've kind of done away with that feature. Basically, the core fighter is going to be separate. So we're going to be building that a little bit later. But this guy does fit in here. He's actually pegged in there, so it doesn't fall out. You can take him out if you want to, But he does have a little bit of articulation, which is this, this heads-up display. I don't know if it's actually called that. They probably want you to paint this white figure with the different colors for the actual pilot, but he's got that heads-up display that kind of poses in front of his face, which is really cool. You can close that down, and basically you'll see there's two rocket boosters on the bottom, which are going to peg in right here. And there you go, there's his core fighter. We also have this piece here, so this has quite a bit of articulation on its own. So the front of the chest can move back and forth. It can extend and collapse on a joint there. And you do have pivot here at the bottom on both sides and side to side. Right. You do have this movement here. Probably doesn't make too much sense right now, but it will make sense later when we're done completing this figure. So this does just kind of slide over the top and it slots into here. So let's go ahead and put this together. And it does fit fairly securely into there. And you do have the neck joints here. So again, we've got those nice looking pistons. Not metal, but looks like metal. And those look really nice. So you get a side to side and you get a forward and backwards movement on that neck. You can see the ball joint for the neck is clear. The reason for that is this has electronics inside, which we haven't put together yet, but the electronics pipe the light through those clear pieces. So you see there's clear pieces in the chest and there's a clear piece in the neck. And that is for the purpose of piping that light all the way through the figure. So there you go, that's really it for the chest. Now let's get the back piece. So here's the back piece all assembled. These are one of the only metal pieces on this entire figure. These are metal veneer, painted this metallic blue. They've got a red plastic shell inside there. That looks really good. I imagine these light up, but I'm not really sure. Obviously these articulate like they did on the originals. It looks really good. And you can just get this pegged into there, and that's really it. You can see, again, we've got this translucent pegs for the sword hilts, and that's because we want those to light up too. So that's going to be really cool when we're done, but that's really it for that back piece. Let's move on to the arms. All right, here are the arms. So again, really nice movement on these. You have rotation at the bicep, you have a movement here, you have a double jointed elbow with a little bit of automorphing technology in there, and then you've got, again, pistons that make it look like metal, but they just kind of move with the figure. This is the wrist, and that wrist joint has all the movement because it's on a ball joint, so you can get that in any direction. Right. So we're just going to take this, and it comes with these shoulder armor, and that's just going to fit right on top. This is symmetrical. There's the shoulder armor. And again, we're just assembling the skeleton so far. We haven't put any of the armor on the outside of this guy yet. That's about as far as we've gotten. And you do get these fist hands by default. There's a whole bunch of other hands. They are not articulated, unfortunately. The fingers aren't articulated, but they are on a ball joint, so it goes up and down, in and out, and then there's a joint there, so if you want to get it really in. And then again, it's got that metallic look, so underneath the hand there's that armor. But we are going to get the armor onto here a little bit later, and there are also some other hands that we'll take a look at. But let's first get to the head. All right, here's the head all assembled, and this is interesting. Again, they've got light piping plastic, clear plastic that goes in, translucent plastic. The eyes are translucent green. Let's see if we can get the light on them. There you go. They've got, this is the only one of the only other metal pieces. So right here, excuse me, and I showed you back here, metal pieces. There's not a lot, but there are a few places where they use it. So this is it. These Vulcan blasters there. This piece is clear, so it should light up when we put the batteries in. But they also give you stickers, so if you want that metallic look, which you see on here. And that just goes on a ball joint on the top. And again, it's on a ball joint, so you get all the movement. It looks really good. So that will complete phase 1/2 for this build. So we are going to move on to phase 3, which is going to give us the external truss structure, is what they call it. So just as a reminder, let me just bring in the box here. Here's the phase 3, which you got all those trusses, those metal trusses. They're not metal, they're plastic, but they look like metal. So we'll get to there, and then we'll come back and take a look before we move on to phase 4. All right, here we are on day 2/2.5 of this build. I put in about 4 to 5 hours so far. I lost track of a little bit of the time. I didn't track it, but so far it's about 4.5 hours total, not including kind of the setup time where I had to lay some stuff out, just so that I could make it easier on myself. I tried to lay stuff out in that picture you saw earlier. But here's the metal truss frame. So basically we've added all these metal pieces. They're not actually metal, to be honest. They look like metal, but they're really just a very nicely colored plastic. The only metal parts, I might as well point them out now because you're not going to be able to see them later, are these stickers. So there's a couple places where we have stickers, and they're metal. They call them etching stickers, but here and here, here and here, coming down to the back, you've got this right here, here, and here, and on the front, here, here, and I believe just the only other piece which I mentioned earlier is on the head, these Vulcan lasers or whatever they call them. That's really it. Everything else is plastic, or plastic that appears like metal. There isn't a lot of metal on this, but it's fine. It still looks great. I'm pretty impressed so far with this exoskeleton, inner skeleton piece. It just really looks good. Oh, here's one more piece of metal sticker. I guess when we put the final panels on, all these stickers are going to be locked in place. But right now, they're pretty easy to knock off of there. So I don't know. It's fine. Oh, I said sorry. This is metal too. These rockets are metal on the outside, the blue piece. All right, so that's really it for the truss. I think it looks great, but we're going to continue on. We're going to go and start building the exoskeleton and the weapons and the other hands. There's a whole bunch of hand options. So we'll get that and we will continue on.